This article is related to the insurance sector in India, as a write-up appeared in the newspaper highlighting that India is often described as an underinsured country based upon two parameters: the insurance penetration and the insurance density. The insurance penetration is calculated in terms of the total premium collected as a percentage of the GDP of the economy, and the insurance density is calculated in terms of the average premium paid per person, usually expressed in the US dollars. But these two measures do not present the true picture of how the households are protected, how much they are protected in terms of the sudden loss of income in case a calamity comes. Therefore, we'll discuss the status of the insurance sector in India, the challenges that the insurance sector faces, the government initiatives regarding the same, the role of the insurance sector in the economy, the drivers of insurance in India, and a few suggestions regarding the same. This is important in GS3 under the topic Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development, and employment. First, let us look at some data. The status of the insurance sector in India. If we compare it with the world, we are having the insurance penetration below the global average. In terms of life insurance, it's closer to the global average. In India, the coverage is 2.8%, and in the non-life insurance, it is just about 1%, whereas the global average is closer to 4%. When we compare it to the similarly placed countries, for example, the developing economies, the BRICS countries, again India is lagging behind except Russia. For example, in South Africa, it is more than double the global average in terms of the life insurance penetration. Similarly, in Brazil also, in the non-life insurance, it is higher than India. Similarly, in China also, the non-life insurance penetration is higher than India. But when we look at the indicators, it has been increasing. The new premiums collected regarding the life insurance premium over the past half a decade have been increasing. Similarly, the non-life insurers, their gross premiums have also been increasing in the past half a decade. When we compare the premium density per capita, there also India is lagging behind the world average severely. That is the average premium paid per person. Therefore, the total amount insured, for which the total amount the people are insured, that is also quite less as compared to the global average. Similarly, when we observe the share of the public and private sector, in terms of the life insurance, the share of the public sector is higher. The share of LIC is about 57% as compared to the private sector. But in the non-life insurance segment, there the share of the private sector is higher. It is more than 53%. There have been some shifts also that have been observed. For example, in the non-life insurance segment, the growth rate of the health insurance has been more than 3 times the growth rate of the motor insurance. The growth rate, not the absolute percentage. In terms of absolute percentage, the motor insurance is quite high still. The health insurance has been catching up. Over the past decade, the health insurance growth has been closer to 400%, whereas the motor insurance growth has been closer to 130% over the past decade. When we look at the life insurance segment, there the claim settlement ratios have been rising. That leads to the building of trust. And when the trust builds, then the cultural beliefs also start changing. People start believing that they will actually get some claim settlement in case a calamity comes up. Similarly, the persistency rates have also been higher. That is, the people who have been continuing to pay the premiums and extending their policies, that has increased from 21% to 45% over the last decade. That is happening because of the innovative products that the insurance companies come up with. They are focusing upon the consumer satisfaction, the customer satisfaction, and going for the customized products and solutions, the offerings that they give regarding the insurance products and services. Now, what is the role of the insurance sector in the economy? Why do we want to emphasize upon it? One of the primary roles is the mobilization of resources. The insurance companies, they are collecting the money. They are pooling in the premium which is collected from the people who are taking the insurance. That pooled in money, they are not keeping it in their pockets. they are investing it somewhere. That can be used for the assets creation, that can be used for the investments, and that can reduce therefore the cost of financing the long term projects, investing in the infrastructure related projects, therefore ultimately bringing down the cost of borrowing for the infrastructure companies. And it is also important for generating employment. There are various kinds of direct and indirect employments created by the insurance sector. For example, directly the insurance brokers, insurance advisors, agents, underwriters, claims managers, etc. The underwriters performing the important function of evaluating the background. For example, when giving the life insurance, the underwriters, they evaluate the lifestyle, the habits, and therefore determine what is the premium that should be collected depending upon the risk that the insurance company is bearing. And it will also provide the security to the businesses. The businesses, they also are based upon the risk management models, hedging their risks, and therefore to reduce the uncertainties, they are going for insurances, the risk mitigation. For example, every sector, whether it is manufacturing, logistics, transport, etc., that goes for the insurance. For example, we import oil and natural gas from West Asia, the shipping companies, they also go for insurance. Now, when we say, for example, that if the Strait of Hormuz is closed, then the oil and gas supplies will be hit. That does not mean that the Strait of Hormuz will be closed virtually totally. Rather, if even one or two ships are attacked, then the insurance companies, they back away from giving the insurance. Therefore, the shipping companies, they stop the transport of the logistics, etc. And ultimately, it helps in the creation of the long-term infrastructure assets as well as contribution to the GDP. The contribution of the insurance sector to India's GDP is just about 3.5%. It can be way higher because there are various growth drivers that are present in the Indian economy which can boost the insurance sector. For example, the growing middle class. By 2030, we are expected to add about 140 million people more in the middle class, plus about 21 million more households will be added in the high income bracket. That will lead to higher demands for the insurance and for the safety and protection of their assets and wealth. Similarly, the awareness has been increasing. The insurance penetration, for example, in 2001 was just about 2.71%, whereas by 2022, it increased to 4.2%. Similarly, in terms of digital penetration, India is a unique case study. We have the second largest internet users market, and therefore there is a plethora of mobile apps also and the digital payment systems. The digital payment systems, they offer the unique ease of choice through which the consumers can simply choose for the insurance policies and just pay through the mobile phones itself. And the FDI has also been increased. The FDI limit, the government has been promoting the insurance sector. Therefore, earlier in 2021, the Insurance Laws Amendment Act increased the FDI through the automatic route, the foreign direct investment in the insurance sector, from 49% to 74%. And through the Act of 2025 that we will discuss today also, the FDI under the automatic route has been increased to 100% itself. And the health protection gap in India is still significant. It is so large that it is about 30%. That 30% in India do not have any health insurance, and if they are brought under the insurance cover, the insurance segment will get a significant boost. Similarly, the rural market is severely underpenetrated. Like less than 10% in the rural areas people have life insurance, and less than 20% people in the rural areas have the health insurance. Therefore, there are significant growth drivers in its favor. Now, let's also discuss the Amendment Act of 2025, the Sabka Bima Sabki Raksha Amendment of Insurance Laws Act 2025. This amendment amended the Insurance Act 1938, the Life Insurance Corporation Act 1956, and the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority Act of 1999. Through this amendment, the FDI has been increased to 100% through the automatic route, that up to 100% of the paid up equity capital can be through the foreign direct investments route. Similarly, the net owned fund requirements for the foreign reinsurers have also been reduced. The net owned funds, they include the paid up equity capital also, that has been reduced from 5,000 crores to 1,000 crore. Similarly, the registration of the transfer of shares, it has been relaxed. When a public company is going to transfer its shares, then it can be done only after the approval of the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India if the value of the transferred shares is more than 5% of the paid up share capital. Now this requirement of 5% has been brought down to 1%. That is, the public companies, in case they are going to transfer their shares, they will need the approval of the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India only if the value of the shares is more than 1% of the paid up share capital that they are transferring. Similarly, it has been now applied to the insurance in the SEZs also, the special economic zones, and not only the SEZ but also the international financial services centers inside the SEZs, and now they will apply also to the insurance intermediaries in the special economic zones that it did not apply to earlier, and the international financial service centers inside the SEZs as well. Now coming to the powers of the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, they have also been expanded. For example, it can now approve a scheme which is an arrangement between an insurer and a company not engaged in the insurance business, and it can also supersede the board of directors of an insurer where it has appointed an administrator. For example, the insurer is going for the policies which are adverse to the interests of the stakeholders, the policy holders, then in that case they can supersede the board of directors also where they have appointed an administrator. They can also frame regulations on the remuneration, commission or the rewards for the insurance brokers and insurance agents as well. And they can also inspect and investigate the insurance intermediaries as well. Similarly, it provides for the establishment of the policyholders' education and protection fund. This fund will be administered by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. Now, where will the fund get its money from? It will be funded by the donations or the grants from both the central government and the state government, as well as the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, as well as some companies, and also the penalties, the money that the IRDAI receives in the form of penalties, and also it can be further specified by the regulations regarding the funds that it will get. So what are the steps that the government has taken up to promote the insurance sector in India? It has come up with various schemes. For example, in the health sector, there is the Ayushman Bharat, the comprehensive Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana scheme, through which 5 lakh insurance cover is provided in the form of annual cashless hospitalization up to 5 lakh, and that is provided to the poor people, more than 50 crore poor people in India. The Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, that is targeting the below poverty line families, they are also provided the benefit of cashless hospitalization through smart card based hospitalization. The employee state insurance scheme provides for the focus on the healthcare, maternity benefits, disability benefits to the formal sector workers who are earning less than 21,000 rupees per month. Similarly, in the agriculture sector, there is the crop insurance scheme, the comprehensive Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, launched in 2016. This scheme provides for the compensation in case there is a crop loss due to natural calamities also. Therefore, it provides that just 2% of the sum insured will be paid in the form of premium by the farmers for the Kharif crops. For the Rabi crops, just 1.5% of the sum insured is paid in the form of premium, and for the commercial crops, about 5% of the sum insured is paid in the form of premium by the farmers. The remaining premium, that is subsidized by both the center plus the states. And it provides for the losses which may be incurred during the pre-sowing as well as post-harvest losses. And it promotes the usage of technology to promote transparency. For example, remote sensing, usage of drones, and also the GPS for faster claim assessment and faster claim settlement as well as transparency. In addition to that, the government launched various insurance schemes. For example, Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, that provides for the accidental death risk coverage, the natural as well as accidental death risk coverage to the tune of 2 lakh rupees. It will be provided to the saving bank account holders of the age from 18 to 50 years, and for this the premium is a meager 330 rupees per annum. The Suraksha Bima Yojana is for the people from 18 to 70 years of age, and here the premium is just 20 rupees per annum, and here 2 lakh rupees is provided if the person incurs full disability or there is accidental death. The Atal Pension Yojana is guaranteeing a minimum pension after the age of 60 years. And even if the person dies, then the pension is provided to the spouse after the death, and it is chiefly focusing upon the unorganized sector, because in the organized sector there is the employee state insurance scheme providing for the coverage for the people earning less than 21,000 rupees per month. Now, what are the challenges that the insurance sector faces in India? One of the primary challenges is the low penetration. That is because of the poor trust, the lack of the culture regarding the insurance, where the people believe that they will be better off if they are saving their income rather than giving the premium for the insurance schemes, because they do not trust the insurance companies that their claims will be settled in case a calamity comes upon them. And there is additionally poor financial literacy also regarding the digital insurance as well as the insurance products and services. Additionally, the oversight by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India has been quite stringent, and despite that there have been fraudulent claims as well as the fraudulent documentation, the forged documentation as well as misrepresentation of information. Also, there is a lack of historical data because the insurance penetration has been low historically in India. Therefore, the insurance companies are not able to come up the insurance products which may be suited to both the insurers as well as the people insured. And additionally, there are diverse risk profiles which makes the job of the underwriters difficult, because it is difficult then for them to determine what should be the premium based upon the risk profile of the person, because the risk profiles are extremely diverse. Therefore, the underwriting as well as pricing for the insurers both become challenging. And additionally, there is a lack of digitalization and automation which leads to high employee cost as well. Now gradually they have also started employing the artificial intelligence, therefore bringing down the employee cost. And there are emerging risks also simultaneously. For example, the cyber threats, the climate change related threats, the pandemics, for example COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, now the geopolitical situation contributing to various wars because of the uncertainty in the geopolitics as well. So what can be the suggestions for boosting the insurance sector? First, the products have to be customer centric. If they are designed based upon the preferences, the behavior of the customers, if the behavior is studied before promoting an insurance product, then it will lead to personalized insurance products and better insurance penetration. And the awareness also needs to be increased. That awareness will increase if there is collaboration with the government agencies also and the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, so that there can be campaigns and financial education which can be spread. Similarly, the product innovation and customization can be done using technology. For example, data analytics, machine learning as well as artificial intelligence. And the regulatory environment should also be such that it should be functioning like an enabling environment, not like a hindering environment. And the decision making should include the ESG factors, the environmental and social governance factors, so that we can promote the green insurance products as well. At the same time, the insurance products should not be aimed only at the wealthy people, the high paying class. Rather, there can be micro insurance products as well for the economically weaker sections in the society. Now, coming to the article, the author points out that two indicators are used to come to the conclusion that India as a country has inadequate insurance cover. That is the life insurance penetration and the insurance density. The insurance penetration is measured in terms of the total premium collected as a percentage of the GDP, and the insurance density is calculated in terms of the average premium paid per person. But these do not present the true picture. For example, these do not reveal whether a family will be protected against the shocks. For example, if the main earning member of the family dies, there is a sudden loss of income, then how will they be financially stable, or how much premium will they be getting in that case? Will they be financially protected against such shocks? Similarly, the premium to GDP, for example, it is a measure of the industry revenue relative to the size of the economy. Now, this can move up or down due to many factors. For example, if the economy grows rapidly, there is a sharp GDP growth, but the insurance coverage remains similar, then this indicator, the insurance penetration, lead to the conclusion that the insurance penetration has actually been decreasing in the economy, which is not the true picture. Similarly, the regulatory changes, they can also distort the true picture, as the product rules or commission structures, if they are modified, then usually in the short term the premium growth slows down. The insurance density also has similar limitations. For example, a family paying a modest premium in India may be making a far greater financial commitment relative to their income than a family paying a higher premium in a developed economy. Their income itself is way larger proportionately as compared to the premiums that they are paying. In India, therefore, the insurance products, they are sold as savings instruments rather than as pure protection. Therefore, the premiums can be high even when the life cover provided is modest. And when we look at the claim settlements, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India Annual Report 2025 had observed that the life insurance, they settled the claims of about 97% claim settlement ratio. This points to efficient claim settlement, but the average payout was just about 3.3 lakh rupees per claim. Now, such a small amount, it may not be sufficient to replace the income, and it might replace only for a very short period, if at all. Therefore, when India is labeled as underinsured, that is true, but the conclusion is not that people lack awareness or lack the access. The access is also significant. Rather, in many households, formal as well as semi-formal sectors, at least one person owns one life insurance policy, either individually or through employers. The reach, therefore, is that of adequacy, rather. That in case the insurance is needed, will it provide enough to replace the lost income if something goes wrong? Now, there is a mains practice question also. Despite significant reforms and policy support, the insurance sector in India remains underpenetrated compared to the global standards. Discuss the key challenges faced by the insurance sector in India. Also highlight the government initiatives aimed at improving the insurance coverage. Please try to write it.